Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of We Need to Talk. My guest today you have seen on Disney's Lab Rats, American Crime Story, Marvel's The Runaways, and more recently the Netflix movie You Are My Home, just to name a few. She's currently in Canada filming her latest project, but I'm lucky that I got to snag her for a few minutes to have a conversation with me, the beautiful and talented Miss Angel Parker. Angel, thanks for joining me
Oh,
today.
thanks, Malynda. I'm happy to be here. Glad we figured it out, girl.
I know. I know.
Technology. It's like, let's figure it out. Let's get it done.
Well, the whole world's been on Zoom.
I know. We had big plans. Didn't we have plans last year? Big
Oh, yeah,
plans.
absolutely.
Oh, shoot. We were going to do it all.
So I'm glad you said that because I'm curious how things shifted in your life over the last year. Was there anything that you thought you were going to do, but actually was a blessing that it was taken away because of the pandemic? Because I know for me personally, there were a lot of things that kind of came to fruition in different ways, or made me realize, oh, maybe that's not what I want, or I want to like kind of reshift kind of what my journey is. So for you, how has the last year treated you?
Well, girl, it's been it's been a journey. I mean, we all had to adapt and adjust, right? So I live in Los Angeles. I live mid-city. So both of my kids, my son was a freshman in high school. My daughter was in second grade, and it just all shut down. So her first Holy Communion was canceled. My son was now home doing high school, and he got into this fantastic school that he'd worked so hard to get into. And we were just, boom, all home. And I was shooting a pilot. I was actually up here in Vancouver shooting a pilot for NBC, my first like big network pilot, like great job playing a scientist, smart woman on TV. It was exactly smart woman of color on television. It was exactly what I wanted to be doing, and finished my role and flew back home. And as I'm flying back home, I'm in the airport, and we're already hearing a little bit about this COVID thing. We're not sure. We heard more about Wuhan than we knew, more than
Yeah.
a rap song, but I was in the airport flying home, and I'd gotten there early to get my global entry. I had all my paperwork ready. I was like, oh, I'm about to be coming up and down. And sitting in the airport, I'm looking at the news, CTV, Canada TV, and Tom Hanks got it. And you remember when Tom Hanks got it? And Justin Trudeau's wife, the Prime Minister of Canada's wife, got it. And I remember being in the airport like, oh, because I had my turtleneck. We were kind of joking. No one was wearing masks yet. Like you were saying, having your child, like we didn't quite know. You didn't know if that was too much or what it was. And then we got back, and 2 days later, March 13th, the world shut down. The pilot shut down, like nothing got completed. I mean, my husband was supposed to go back to Vancouver to shoot a couple more episodes of The Flash. They ended their season early. So all of a sudden it was just silence, like no work, no nothing, trying to get paid, all these things. So we were it shifted. My husband was testing for a pilot, the test got canceled. All these things happened that we were just like, oh, okay, this is real. And now we're home, and we adjusted, we adapted, we're blessed to have a house with a front and backyard. Our neighbors decided to do construction. That did not go over very well with me. I'm like, we are in quarantine. What are you doing? Why are we? They had to take my fence down. I'm like, what are we doing?
Oh my gosh.
So we had a lot going on, and we lost, a lot. I mean, a lot of people lost a lot. They canceled the Olympics, for goodness sake, so we weren't the only ones to lose things, but it felt like a lot at once. And so then all of a sudden we just had time. We were just home and getting through it. We moved my daughter to a smaller school. All the things, because the Zoom boxes were not working for her, just to have fewer Zoom boxes. It was still at home homeschooling. So it was rough, but we got through it. I ended up shooting a commercial in the house. Because at the very beginning, I did a Geico commercial where they dropped off all the equipment. This is early COVID. This is like late May, maybe early June, where everything was shut down, and they dropped off equipment at the front porch. Wouldn't even bring it in, wouldn't even load it inside. And we
So you were your own production team.
Basically, yeah. They paid my husband to be like the on-set tech. And they were very great about it. I mean, it was Geico, it was top of the line. So they had everything labeled, but it was a real camera. It was real lights. It was wardrobe and hair over, Zoom, and them dropping, like it was funny because now they've figured out production a little bit more, and testing wasn't available back then. Nothing, we weren't doing it. We didn't know.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to do a job in COVID, like that. And then slowly things started to come back after the summer. Slowly work started to come back and things started to go. But to lose, and then that pilot never completed, and now it's back, and now they've moved on. They replaced me with a local hire down in Australia. The show moved to Australia. So back to your original question, like that job, which I thought I lost and was, devastated when I found out that they were going to shoot it in Australia without me. But then I would be in Australia right now, and doing a role that would have been great. But now God bless me with another role, still a smart Black woman on a network show,
Yeah.
just a different network. And I'm here in Vancouver, and yes, I do have to do the quarantining, and I'm away from my family. You can't fly back and forth. So when you do commit to a job, you're committing to a job. But things will get better. Things will move forward. So that was sort of a blessing in disguise, where I was like, oh wow, I lost a show, but I gained another one.
Yeah.
I got this year at home. So now if I'm going to be gone for a long time, gone for 2 months, essentially, for this one pilot, I've gotten so much time with my family, so much time with my kids. Those first couple of days, I was living my best life, just nice and chill, sleeping, taking baths. I was good, but of course, I miss them desperately now.
Yes.
And we're making it work. We're making it work, and I will go home. But the back and forth and how much the business has changed just in 1 year, and figuring out how to self-tape and setting up a self-tape studio. And my back house, or garage, converted back house, now is a fully functioning self-taping studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wall painted, we got light, we got professional lights, we got a friend of ours is a DP. He came over and told us what to buy. My artist friend painted the wall 4 times. Like, we had to
Oh
get
my
the
gosh.
color right, get the sound right. We were using a fancy camera, and now we're just on an iPhone. So figuring it all out, and that's now a good way to help our friends, and could be a possible source of income to help people out, and do our own auditions. Obviously, the tape
Yeah.
that I did for this new show that I'm doing, National Parks, I shot that in my garage. So we're adapting, we're
For sure.
adjusting,
For
we're
sure.
figuring it out. Now, when it comes to personal life, like, you trim the fat. Like, there's a lot of friends that you don't miss. There's a lot of places that you used to go to that you don't miss going to.
Yeah.
You do miss interactions and coming together. And I turned 40 in COVID, and like couldn't have a big old 40th birthday party, but I had a small get together with really close friends, and everyone got tested and all of the things. But certain things are really, really nice. You really
Yeah.
start to connect with people in a different way. Technology, like, you get things done in a more efficient way now, and you can kind of have more choice in how you want to spend your day. So I think that the world kind of needed a shakedown, a shakeout,
Hmm.
or a cleansing.
The pause button. Yeah.
Yeah, a pause. I do think that we needed it, and like I always say, like, I think it's even my bio on Instagram or whatever. I'm like, what a time to be alive, because it really is. I mean, coming
Yeah.
from that's what, like, I remember before the internet. When I still had my little AOL account. I remember getting that, and like, so it is
Waiting for
very
it to
cool.
boot up.
Yeah, that and chat rooms and stuff, and like high school. But I also remember the Dewey Decimal System, and
Yeah.
so it's and I remember where I was during 9/11. I remember where I was during the LA riots. I remember, and now I'm going to very much so remember where I was during COVID. And so it is an interesting time to be alive, and with all the racial reckoning that's kind of coming to the forefront. And we're
Yeah.
really, really in the season of change. Me Too movement is really changing things for women in our business, and in business in general. So being a working mom and being in this world and in this life, you're like, okay, where are we? What are we doing? And then you just kind
Yeah.
of got to take it day by day.
So, do you think, because I completely co sign on everything that you just said, but I personally think that if we weren't in this pandemic, I don't know if we would have been having as much of racial recognition as we've been having lately.
Oh no. Yeah, 100%. I think people had time to sit and people in social media, I mean, that George Floyd video, we've seen many videos like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but a lot of other people hadn't paid attention to it. And so maybe if we weren't sitting there bored with our Netflix accounts, bored with life, you know, white people, essentially, people that are like, wait, oh yeah, wait, didn't we just do a jog for for Aubrey? Like, didn't we just do? Wait, didn't it? And you're like, yeah, no, this happens a lot. and you've never really noticed it, or you've never cared, or you've never had the time
Yeah.
to let it sink in and to really then see a man, begging for his life, asking for his mother, and it's on camera because everybody has a camera in their pocket. I mean, Rodney King was a man being beat down by police, and is that 30 years ago now? Gosh,
About, yeah.
about
Yeah.
30 years ago now. Ooh, aging myself. Um, I lived in LA. I'm born and raised in LA, so I was in junior high when all that went down. I very much remember that and the riots once once the men were acquitted. So we've seen this before, but I
Right.
think that the world with Instagram and with sharing of social media and everyone seeing news feeds and being and Donald Trump and people being so just passionate and Facebook about all sorts of things, but sharing opinion, like there's things I know about people and opinions that I know about people that they would never say if we were at dinner together across the table from one another. But now
Right.
you know them how they feel and what they comment on and what they we're all connected, even though we don't feel connected.
Yeah.
So there's this yearning that people want to connect, or that you feel a sense of brotherhood or sisterhood with people around you, and yet you're secluded. So you just have your thoughts and your fears and your feelings. And yes, I do think that we needed this time in order for people to even care. But I still now people are kind of back to life, and are they going to really now the trial has started. Like I was watching the beginning of the trial for George Floyd today, just a little bit of it, and I wonder if people care still now that
Yeah.
their jobs are back and they're back to work and
And they can have the same
starting to get,
distractions.
yeah, you have your normal distractions. You're not just, and the people stayed home and they.
Do you ever feel as a Black woman really emotionally exhausted from those images? Because I always tell, other people of color, like, protect your space. Like, if you don't want to watch the video, you don't have to watch the video. And I haven't gotten to the point where it really, I don't want to say doesn't affect me. It always affects me, but to the point where I'm like, cannot look at those images or read any articles about that. I haven't gotten there, but I know so many people have. How has it affected you in that sense?
Well, I hear you. I mean, I get exhausted just from the questions that a lot of my friends keep asking me. I'm just like, can you Google that? Can you please? Can I maybe? But I also, catch me not exhausted, and I'll answer your questions, of course. I I watched the whole video. Um, Not at first, but I did. I wanted to
Yeah.
see the whole thing. I only watched it once. I didn't need to watch it again. Just because I wanted to, uh, you know, see the whole thing, have my own opinion on it. But it's the same. You're just watching a man die. It's just not. But I kind of feel the same way about slave movies. Like I was just like, can we stop making slave movies? Can we maybe tell a few more stories? Like it's just torture at this point. Like
Yeah.
you're watching, to George Floyd, you're watching this man die. It's just, and I'm not saying you don't need to feel that and you don't need to know that, but we've seen it so much, especially in our community. We've seen it so much, and yes, I get incredibly exhausted by it all. And then living and working in a predominantly kind of white world, society, LA, business, I'm many times the only Black woman in the room. I'm
Right.
many times the only woman in the room. It's changing now. I can see it shifting, but there's many times that, or one other Black person, a person of color comes in and you make eyes with them. Like it's just so used to it,
Yeah.
And then after the LA riots, after 92, my family, we moved to South Orange County. So I moved into this complete white world. Like I've had to learn how to adapt and adjust and speak clearly and not ruffle too many feathers and swallow a couple of comments that are made in the room because you don't want to be that person that is whatever. I
The
mean,
aggressor, even though you're not the
yeah,
aggressor.
the
Yeah.
angry Black woman, like you just don't, even though you're just like, all right, I'm gonna let that one slide, or you try to say something graceful because you also want to take advantage of the opportunities that are being presented, and
Right.
there's more kind people in the world than assholes. I do truly believe
I
that.
do too. I'm with you
I
on that.
just feel that a lot of people don't know. I mean, I've got good white friends. They're like, oh, what did you do to your hair? And I'm just like, oh, I didn't straighten it for 2 hours, and I didn't, you know, put some god awful chemical in it to,
Right.
you know what I mean? I got out of the shower, and this is how it grows out of my, I might put a little product, a little oil, you know, don't get me wrong, but a little clip, little pin over here. But you know what I'm saying? They didn't know that my hair was curly
Mm,
because I'd worn it straight for so long. And like, don't get in the pool, don't get in the pool, don't, you know, like, don't mess up the hair, like, don't. But just, they had just no concept
right.
of, and it's not because they are racist, it's because they just don't know, they're in their bubbles, they're in there, so those bubbles are being popped all around
Yes.
me, and now they're like, oh, let me call my one black friend, but then they'll be like, oh, but she's not really black, and then she'll be like,
That stuff. Oh,
and then, you know, that kind of stuff where you're
those
just like,
microaggressions. Yep.
but they're not even trying to be aggressive, they're just more like, you're not the black girl I see on TV, you're not the black girl I'm scared of, you're not the one that says something when I say something wrong, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That part's changed. I do speak up a little bit more now, but I think that comes with age.
Yeah. And just not caring anymore,
And just
right?
not caring anymore, and just a little bit of like, not, oh, well, actually, it's really the, you know, but the generations that had come before me, you know, like we sharecropped the land in South Carolina that we were slaves on. Like
Mm,
we have the land and the red dirt. Like, I'm so connected to my history and to my, and the paths and the doors that have been opened for me because of my great grandmother, because of my grandmother, because of my mother. Like, I'm now in more rooms because they opened the door for me.
yeah,
So I'm not gonna pop off the mouth, you know, when there's other knowledge to be learned and other
for
things
sure.
to be had, and then every now and then you can speak your mind, and now obviously it's getting so much easier to be yourself and to say, well, yes, I am actually a black woman. I'm fully, you know, when they say, well, you're not really black, or you're in an interracial relationship, or you don't speak that way, or you don't talk that way, or you don't feel like them, do you? And as I am them, honey, that is
Right.
me. You know, we
Right.
come in different shades and colors, and we speak all different ways. And maybe I speak a little clearer around you so that you can understand me and accept me and not alienate me, that you can get to know me. And then you'd like, oh yeah, I do have a black friend. Even if that's me and I'm the only one, but I do want you to understand my life and my experiences and my history. If you want to know,
Yeah.
if you've ever asked me about my life or asked me about my history, you'll know that I'm black. You know, you won't think, oh, well, you're not really, like, I'm just like, that's the one where I'm like, okay, okay.
Yeah, I got that my whole life pretty much because I grew up in Santa Barbara, and so I was around predominantly white place spaces and white people, and but I grew up in a very pro black house,
Yes, yes,
and
yes. I was like, yes,
we were taught, I know what code switching is, and I know that I had to do it because it was a means of survival.
it's a
Because the
mean of
minute you
survival.
show any quote unquote in their eyes blackness, they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Oh,
even if you're just questioning something. And I was going to ask you because as you were talking, it made me think of the situation that recently happened with Sharon Osbourne and Cheryl Underwood. I'm sure you saw that video.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and
It was
yeah,
that was extremely triggering for me because I can't even count how many times I've been in that situation. I felt like I had to coddle the person that was actually hurting me in that moment. And I think that
yeah,
people don't realize how often specifically black women are put in that position. Especially like in the industry and you're worried about your job or whatever. Like if somebody is attacking you, you actually have to make them feel better in that moment. And you can't even
yeah.
protect your own space and you protect your own heart.
No, you definitely have to make them feel okay. I mean, I was with a group of girls that were from San Clemente, where we moved to from LA, and they're coming up to LA. I'm like, why don't you come to LA? I was like, the freeway works both ways. If you want to come visit and hang out, like, you can come up here, you know, but they don't quite, they're so used to speaking in the way that they speak. They're not used to someone saying, you know, actually, um, let me take that back. Let me take that beat back just a second. Or, you know, just a few things that I would normally let slide, or just because you want to fit in, you want to make friends, you want to learn, you want to make people feel comfortable. You don't want to be the one that's now we don't have her around. She's going to make us
Right.
uncomfortable. We
Right.
don't have her. And, you know, you want to hang out. You want to be cool. You want to be accepted, especially in high school. If you're growing up in Santa Barbara, I get, like, that's very culturally similar San Clemente.
Mhm.
Um, and so you know how to go to the beach, girl. You know how to hang out. Like you do
Right.
know
Right.
you've learned a few things about life too. You've been in these rooms that the doors were open for you by our
Yeah.
generations before.
Yep.
So you're going to take advantage. You're going to learn. You're going to also not be afraid of white people because you now know more.
Right.
You know, and so it's just one of those things where code switching or being adapting or wearing your hair straight so that there's not so many questions. Like I wear my hair curly and I get 10 questions and I get somebody touching it. I wear my hair straight and I'm down 2 hours in advance, straightened and fried and done, done all these things to try to fit in. And not that I don't love my hair straight, not that I don't think we can change our crowns as we see fit, but there's days that I just want to get out of the shower and like pin up the
And just
side
go
and walk
about your
out the door
business, right?
and go my business. Like, can I maybe, or like I worked out today, I'm gonna work out, like, can I maybe not, spend all this money? And also and not be my authentic self. Like when
Right.
can I just be who I am?
Right.
No matter who I'm dating, no matter who I'm married to, no matter what rooms I'm in, can I still be Angel, this Black woman in front of you, but Angel, the girl that you know, and the girl that you hopefully respect and don't feel other. And then maybe you can learn a little something about me. And the way that I learned how to go to the beach with $5 and a bag, and how to last all day from my white friends that taught me how to be a beach girl, you can maybe learn a little bit about Black heritage and know what sharecropping is and know what code switching is and know what natural hair is. And if you want to,
Right.
if you are at all interested, I'm an open book.
Yeah.
You just have never really been interested until now they're faced with it. And it's like, oh, you're going to pull the race card. And it's like, nah, I'm not going to let that brush off so easily card.
Yeah.
That's more what it is. I
Right.
definitely want to get jobs because I deserve them. I want to go to schools because I needed to get in there. I don't need a scholarship if I don't need a scholarship. But if I earn one, you better pay me. You know what I mean? Like I want to be valued for the person that I am, by the content of my character,
Yeah. Yeah.
but there's a little reckoning happening with the young people these days. And I'm here for it. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's happening.
Absolutely. I love everybody calling it cancel culture, but I think it's just accountability and people just aren't used to it. They're
And I
just not used to it.
like, oh, I can pop off at the mouth and have repercussion, like there's repercussions. Like I can't just say whatever the hell I want to say.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, well, we can't do whatever the hell we want to do. We can't get too loud in any room. We can't, even sell a little bit of weed. Now it's legal. And now it's
It's
like
a
these
billion
people
dollar
are,
industry now.
oh, taxes. Oh, we bought this road with this school is helping like because of, and then how many men of color are in three strikes you're out for less than what is like, and that I'm just, so yes, not that I believe in cancel culture, and I do believe that people learn and grow and
Hmm.
develop life over time, and everyone should have an opportunity to redeem themselves, but you cannot say whatever the heck you want
Right.
anymore.
And I
So
love that. I'm
yeah,
here
I
for it.
love that too. You can't just, no, I'm sorry, you cannot, boys will be boys. No, no, where are the men? Where are the grown men that don't allow other men to do these things to women? What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are you behaving this way? And why is it okay with the brother standing next to you that you're going to treat a woman in this way or treat anyone in this way? Like, where
Yeah.
is just not a male, female, black, white, where is the humanity that, oh, hey, I didn't mean to offend you. I'm sorry if I misspoke. Like, where's that? Where's
Yeah.
that?
It's
But where's,
missing. It's
yeah,
missing for sure.
it's missing. And so now, you got to kind of hit, it always overcorrects a bit. And then hopefully we land somewhere, meet me in the middle.
Right. Right. So one of the things that we have in common, of course, is that we're both in interracial marriages. And, you know, I've dated all races in my life. And the person that I just happened to fall in love with and have been with for the last decade is a white man. And, I've definitely gotten I think social more comments on social media than in person because everybody with two thumbs think that they can say whatever they want to people, right? But I'm curious how you've had any response towards your interracial relationship, even from the black community, from the white community, from any community. And have you ever been, because this is something I get common, that it's impossible for me to be pro-black while being with a white man. Have you ever had that response?
Yes, very much so. yes, yes, yes. And
Which I think is a load of crap. It's not true because you're
yeah, I
basically
mean,
saying who I'm with is my identity, and that's ridiculous.
yeah, I get it, I get it. And then, even I've heard, from black men that are just like, why'd you give up on us, girl? Like, why? Like,
Yeah.
you're a good one. You're one of our dimes. You gave up on us. And I was like, where were you?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I I didn't seek out, I'm going to marry a white man.
Exactly.
That is not what happened. And it comes with its own challenges in raising biracial children. And,
Hmm.
my husband was from St. Louis. He was lower middle class, grew up in Black culture. And so he wasn't afraid to come talk to me. He was like, hey, girl, hey, so he was funny and he was cool. And I fell in love with him. Same deal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Which it
we,
really is that simple. And I wish people would realize that. Like you just fall in love with who you fall in love with.
yeah, and if you're talking and you connect on other things, and we were both actors and we were in the same acting school, and we were cool with each other, and we had many things to talk about. But then it's funny because then I go hang out. I'm the LA girl, I'm a California girl, and then I go to my family. We have family reunions every year. We're very connected to like I was saying, and big family reunions, matching T-shirts, like the whole bit, in my family. And it's a lot of East Coast and mainly in the South, mainly South Carolina, but all over. But it's like the cookout, the barbecues, the thing, and it's like my husband being from St. Louis and like Budweiser and barbecue and baseball games and stuff, like he gets along with my family
I
more
love
than
that.
like the LA girl who's like, I'm
Right.
gonna be at the beach and I'm doing yoga and I'm gonna, take a hike over here. So it's really funny how culturally certain things actually meet in different ways, but
Yeah.
no, my family's always been really open and supportive. There were probably a couple little comments here and there, like on his family, a couple little tiny comments here and there. Nothing too major. I mean, God help him with Facebook now, and you start to hear more things with family and more
Right.
articles that they're posting, and I'm just like, all right, I was like, I've loved you for, my husband and I've been together 20 years. I was like, I've loved you for a long time. I do not need to know this about you. I do not
Right.
need because and having conversations, having tougher talks, and like, oh well, but one family member said, but you're a good one, which I just said that a black man said that to me too, but
Hmm.
he was like, but he said it in a different way. He
Of
goes, yeah, but
course.
you're a good one, and I'm like, oh. But it's funny when a brother says it, he goes, you're our good, you're our dime, you're our,
Yeah.
it's funny.
It's a
So,
completely different meaning.
but
Yeah.
it's a completely different meaning, but it's
Yeah.
still the
Yeah.
same, so it's, yes, it's complicated. I'm not going to apologize for my family though, and I'm not going to apologize for
And
my
you shouldn't.
man.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get looks. I remember going to the mall in South Carolina. I remember one like old auntie, like older aunt from a generation, two generations, like my grandmother's cousin, like two generations up. And we were going. She goes, "You're going to go to the mall together?" And then she'll like, "Be careful," like holding hands, like like they
Yeah.
still don't mix as much in certain parts of the country, and it is a little bit different. And
Which is not surprising considering that Loving was 57 years ago. Like
yeah, yeah,
that's
I just watched the movie again.
not that
That's not
long
that
ago.
long ago. That was illegal to be married. But I remember being in San Francisco at the wharf with Eric once, and he was walking. We were just, I don't know, like not completely, like not hugged up, not. And at the time, Eric had a buzzed head, just like he would always just buzz his head, and that was his look, especially in the summertime. He would just buzz his head. But some skinhead dude thought that he was in the Brotherhood, a
Mm.
different kind of brother, and walked up to him and was like, "Can you believe all these, niggas all around?" And Eric was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! You're just talking like that in the streets, huh? You're just out here with it." But
Oh
he
my
thought that he
gosh.
was seeing a brotherhood
Right.
brother. And then Eric just like came. He's like, "Yeah," and we were with the kind of a group, a very diverse group of people because we were all out in San Francisco visiting. Drove up from LA, and it was just like, oh, there's just racism out in these streets, and they're in a way that I've never seen it. I mean, you get these microaggressions, you get the, in school and awkward, and like I can't date. Like I got my own stories,
Right.
but where it's just like a straight up look at these niggas in the street, like
Man.
that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, I thought we were in California, but people are,
There
you
are
know,
pockets in California that are something
oh
else.
yeah, there's whole counties
Yeah.
that are, You just know
Yes.
more about it now. Like
Right.
you never kind of hear it to your face, and people are just more bold. I will not be silenced. I will not be silenced. And I'm like, you need to shut up. Like you don't need to be out here talking. Like you, why? Who are you talking? Why? Why are you so
Just
angry?
angry.
Angry, and like everybody else is to blame for your life, and like they're taking our jobs. And I was like, where are you trying to work? Why don't you? Like
You know, the funny thing about that though is those are the same people that say that white privilege doesn't exist. But it's like if you don't think that white privilege exists, then why are you upset that other people are getting these things? That means you're saying that you deserve this. So that
it
means
makes
that
no
there's
sense.
white
You can't.
privilege. You're
Don't even.
telling on yourself.
Don't even make it. You can't even make sense of it. It makes no sense. So that's why I don't. I'm not saying that it's not painful when like Black community or someone is like, Black love, like you're not, and even my
Yeah,
son is a biracial son, but I want him to go to an HBCU. Like I'm like, hey, why don't we check
for
out
sure.
these schools? Why don't we do these things? And he looks like me.
Mhm.
He's got coarse hair like me. You can a Black person knows that he's mixed, but a white person thinks that he's Black,
Right.
light skin Black. I mean, we'd be
Right.
like, oh, he's mixed. That he got something in him.
So in terms of how you're raising your children, how are you raising them in terms of identity?
They're mixed race, mom and dad. Mom's Black, dad's white. You're both, but the world will see you as a Black man.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are a Black man. Like I've had conversations with him starting at 9 years old about how to behave and how to be, and how to speak to police and how to
Yeah.
avoid confrontation and how to deal with certain situations just for your own safety. I don't want you with a knee to your neck, you know, begging
Right.
for me and not coming home. Like
Yeah.
you come home alive, that is the whole thing. You do not argue, you do not steal, because you can steal a little stick of gum just to feel what that feels like. But the white boy that you're with is going to be off in no time, and you are going to not. The rules are different for people that look like us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are raising you in sort of not colorblind. I don't believe in colorblindness because I love to see all colors. Who wants to be colorblind?
Right. I don't agree with it either because you're taking
I
away
don't.
somebody's identity by saying you're colorblind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But we are exposing him to so many different cultures and so many different things. And we live in a Black neighborhood, but we are very much in a white world. And he goes to a nice private school, and he's got more opportunities.
Mhm.
We're
Mhm.
opening doors for him.
Yeah.
The doors that were open before me, we're giving him even more. Like I don't have a college degree, I don't have a master. Like I didn't get that far. I mean, I'm good, but like I'm like, no, you get, you have more options than I had, and please use them wisely. But
Yeah.
yes, be safe. Yes, no, not, avoid, like he's in situations like you're at the Grove or whatever with your buddies and stuff starts. I'm like, you get out of that situation. You don't. I've taught him how to be a Black. I mean, age appropriately. He's
Yeah.
only 15 now, but like starting at around 8 or 9, it's like this is the way that you behave, and yes or no, sir. When you can't afford to argue with police
Right.
as a Black boy in America.
Right.
You can't do that. So he knows those rules. So when you ask my daughter's 9. She's 9 and she's younger, and so we're just
Mhm.
sort of now learning. She says that she's Black and white, and so she's gray. She's a gray cat, because she thinks
Oh.
she identifies with being a kitty. So we're in more imaginative discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
But she's a Russian blue cat right now.
Oh.
But she does understand that she's Black and white.
And yeah, I think for me, it's the same. We all know that the one drop rule wasn't created by the Black community, but that's what it's going to be when you go out into the real world.
Yeah,
She'll
yeah.
never. My daughter will never deny her father, but you are a Black woman when you walk out of the house. That's just what it is.
That's
You
just
know.
what.
So it is a different set of rules, and
But you don't want to deny your daddy, like
yeah,
you want
ever,
that,
ever.
and that's hard. That's hard. That's hard.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to shift gears before we wrap up because I wanted to ask you because I know you were so proud of the roles that you were getting recently, and you've been in the industry for such a long time. Do you feel that you're at a point in your career that you can say no to a role if you don't think that it represents something that you believe in terms of Blackness?
Ooh, good question. Well, not quite yet because my pocketbook needs to be lined a little bit more. Um,
You got to eat. I
when
get it.
you're talking about choice, but but yes, I do. I don't do nudity. It's just not even an option. Not no judgment on that, but it's not right for me.
Not for right for you. Yeah.
And so there's certain things that I will not do. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine last night who's Afghan, and she had to say something, some line a few years ago, and was like, I cannot say these words. Like it was something disparaging the men of her culture. And she's like,
Mm,
I can't say that, you know. And at that point, that's 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it became being difficult, you know, like it
yeah.
would be like me saying, I don't want to misquote her. So it would be like if I had to say a role like, you know, I can't be with black men. They're trash. They'll rape you and rob you and leave you
Right.
for dead.
Anything
You know,
like that.
something
Yeah.
like that, where I would be
Yeah.
like, I can't
Yeah.
disparage a black man in that way. Like,
Right.
I don't want to say that. Yes, hundo, I would not say words like that. And yes, I do. Luckily, the path that my career has taken, I'm always kind of playing educated women. I'm always kind of playing a woman of status, a woman that's, I mean, I don't have a college degree, I already said, but a woman that usually have to look up every word in my auditions and figure out where I'm at. Play a lot of lawyers, play a lot of reporters, play a
Yeah.
lot of um, scientists, and now I'm an analyst. Like I didn't even know what an analyst was. I was like, so what are we? I mean,
What
yeah,
does she? What does an analyst
I'm
do?
like,
Yeah.
confirmed for the audition. Let me figure out what. And then yeah, I'm always kind of trying to stay on this path. Like, you know, I believe in manifesting, and I believe in writing things down, and I set goals, and I pray, and I have a vision for where I want my life and my career and my family and dreams, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the main ones that's very clear is I wanted to play a smart woman on television, a black woman on TV. I wanted to do it with natural hair. I didn't want to be because I'm fair skinned. I got to have the straight hair. You know, I'm like, that's not how it grows out of my head, but it's
Right.
not ever been thought of as professional. With the Crown Act, you know, they're now putting in these laws that you can't get fired from working at the bank because you got a little curl to your hair
Because it
or a
grows out
little.
of your scalp. Like,
Yes, I know, but you know, black people, we will be making some statements with our crowns.
this is true. This
So
is
I
true.
do believe in being appropriate in certain situations, but I also believe that you should be able to, you know, like my son goes to a Catholic school and you can't wear the collar, you can't have hair longer than your collar. Or if
Hmm.
you're in the military, there are rules, you know, I understand, but there's also texture rules too, and certain things like it's not going to get into your face. They're always worried it's going to get in your face or something like that. So I want to have a woman of color who's fair skinned, who's not mixed race. I'm not mixed race.
Right.
I'm just like got Creole in my line somewhere down the line. You know, there's some mixing somewhere back there, but
Yeah.
I'm not like what our kids are, black and white. You know,
Hmm.
my mother's black, my father was black, and so I'm like, can I be a smart, fair skinned woman on TV that's got natural hair, that is not just the best friend to help out the white character figure, not the
Yeah.
one that's just going to tell you like it is, or not just that little side role. Like, can I be the story? Is that happening? That's happening. Wow. And I'm here for it. And even COVID isn't stopping it. You know,
Yeah.
you're just kind of like, this is my time. Why did COVID hit? Dear God, like why now? You know? But no, there's still progress. There's still the show that I'm on now. There's two black women. I was like, there's two of us,
That's
two black women
amazing.
on the same show.
Wow.
Yes. And it's not a black show.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
two Latinos. Like I'm just like a woman of Native American heritage. Like I'm like,
Wow.
let's tell this story. Yes.
Yes.
And it has nothing to do with the storyline. Nothing to
That's
do. A
incredible.
little Native American, there's gonna, you know, just because our show's set in Yosemite, so they're gonna talk a little bit about the land and where it came from a little bit. So I'm actually very excited about that. But other than that, these are just people in this world. Who knew what an analyst was? Who knew what national parks? Like I didn't go to that. I didn't do that. You know, now I'm gonna be the one telling these stories on TV, and there's gonna be a little girl, your little girl, on watching. You're the little girl, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Watching that and being like, oh, I could do that job one day. I could wear my hair like that one day. You know, when
Yeah.
we talk about representation matters, and it does. It really does. You do need to see it to believe it and be like, oh, I could do that one day. I
Yeah.
never even knew certain jobs, lives existed. Like that's another reason it's nice to be on the other side of that curtain, growing up in Santa Barbara, growing up in San Clemente a little bit. I'm like, oh, people live in these worlds and they're not afraid. And these are
Mm.
opportunities. Oh, there's a place called the Hamptons. What Connecticut? Who, what? Like there's places. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little heated, but
No, but I get it. And that's why representation matters so much.
It
It's
really does. And
exactly
we're
why.
also learning from different people and learning from different immigrants and even and white people. And you're like, oh, you're not afraid. You're not uncomfortable here.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
that looks like. Like there's so many times that I'm so uncomfortable. I'm just like, be cool, be cool, be cool. Now I'm, grown, more grown, but like where you just like just fit in, just don't make any waves and just learn, just be cool. And to actually people that actually are cool and they're just like, yeah, yeah, no, we're the not the fear. And that's
Yeah.
generational and that's what privilege, that's all these things. And I'm privileged too, believe me. I've been able to go through more doors than other people
Hmm.
that look like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and so I'm not gonna waste it or throw away my shot, to use Hamilton's words.
Yes.
I'm not gonna like, I'm like, no, I've got opportunity. I'm not gonna be on these sets acting a fool and demanding stuff. I want to be the best. Now, granted, as you know, we have to work harder, we have to be better, we have to be stronger, we have to be smarter, we have to do it
The
more, we
whole
cannot
checklist.
fail, we cannot get canceled. Like
Yeah.
there's no room for error. And then yes, and I teach my son that a bit. You don't have as much room for error as other people do, or as opportunity. You can't get the lawyer and the bail money and the this and the that. Like, what are you doing? Or you won't get invited back next time, even if it's
Right.
something smaller, like the friend group, the brunch group. You know, you say something too much, they're not gonna. Now, granted, nowadays I'm like, well, I don't want to be friends with you anyway. But when you're in high school and you're just like, I just want to have friends. Like, what do these friends do? Which honestly led me to theater. That's how I ended up becoming an actress. I was in San Clemente, not fitting in, real hard to fit in.
Yeah.
Especially people that have been in a small town and known each other their whole lives. There's a little bit of that. And then we had military kids, base kids from Camp Pendleton. So that was the people of color, but I wasn't military. So you just like, I'm just, where do I? And then you're like, oh, the theater people. There's my people. There's the accepting artists, creators,
Right.
the weirdos.
Which is the
That
beauty of arts, the
the
beauty of the
acceptance of
arts.
each other. And like, we're just all trying different styles on, trying different personalities on, trying different roles on, listening to different music, hanging out, creating together, having fun
Yeah.
together. And that's funny that's then how I became an actress. If I hadn't moved out of LA, I wonder if that would have actually been my path. I wonder where I would have
And
ended up.
I mean, I think everything happens for a reason. It sounds like that's what your path was supposed to do. So that's pretty amazing. But let everybody know where they can follow you and what you have coming up next that we can see you on.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm Angel Parker pretty much on all platforms. On Instagram, I'm Angel Parker LA. But Angel Parker on there, she's cool too. I follow her. Someone got my name first. She's living her best life in New York. I'm like, hey, Angel Parker, can
I
I get my
love it.
name? No. But no, so I'm Angel Parker LA on that. And then yeah, I'm doing this pilot right now for ABC called National Parks. Hopefully we get picked up a series and you see us representing analysts and ISB agents in Yosemite in the fall. So hopefully that's something. I also recur on The Rookie, which is on ABC as well. And they're doing a really good storylines right now with Black Lives Matter and the police and reform. And I play the captain's wife on that. And just sort of talking about some big issues for a show like that. So yeah, that's
Awesome.
another thing that's happening. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe to We Need to Talk, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Lynn. Bye.